Shovel now. Is this book new? Oh. Okay. It's nice and glistening and shining today. Yeah, it's good. What, the book?
Yeah, the gold trimming is matching, bouncing off your outfit, make it look nice.
Yeah. May the words of my lips and the meditation of my mind be acceptable before you, O Yah, my rock and my redeemer. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. First and foremost, giving all honor, glory, thanks, allegiance to the God of our forefathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzchak, and the God of Yisrael. To him and him alone are all praises due forever and ever. Showing respect to the leader of Beit D.C.B, Chief Prince Jediah Ben Yissaskar, to all of the individuals of the council, to the men, women, and children within the sound of my voice, I bid you all in the talk of my forefathers, Shabbat Shalom, Shalom Lakem. Hallelujah. How y'all doing this morning? Amen. Amen. Y'all sound a little bit, but I know it's cold today. It's a little different. A little bite out there today. But Torah Yah for sparing our lives. Heath, I need you to go downstairs and get my White Lives Matter t-shirt. Just get that for me. All right, I forgot to put it on before I came up, so. I thank God for sense. I thank God for the ability to have a clear mind and to understand what I'm dealing with, to understand myself, to understand my people, and to understand my adversary. I thank God for even allowing me to understand him. Not that I know his ways and have an understanding of his facets and the fact that he's great and he can do things beyond my imagination, but the fact that he gave me a blueprint in order to live, to tell me what to do. Because a lot of things concerning us and human beings is basic. God don't ask us for much but obedience. He's not asking you to tread water. He's not asking you to be Superman. He's not asking you to break the code of the speed of light. He's not asking you for any of those things. He's asking for obedience. And those simple things, it seems that we can't master. We're going to go into the portion of Ha-Azinu. As Shomer Queen spoke before I got up, and in the portion that he was reading, it said to the pure, the God is pure, and to, the certain people, he is talking about this idea of reciprocation. And I wanted to discuss reciprocity because when you read, if you read Ha-Azinu before, it's a clear indictment of the behavior of the people. Yes, sir. But there's a part in it that we're going to go into where God takes over. Moses is no longer talking. God begins to talk. And what God conveys his message, he is conveying the fact that regardless of the fact that you treat me like dirt, I don't do that to you. The fact that I've given you everything and you've shown me your behind, I still have mercy upon you. Not for your sake, but for the sake of the nations round about who will say, look at that God that can't control his own people. Look at these people who have everything and still don't appreciate their God. Look at those people who are out in the world, got a culture, got an identity, but they're still trying to be like everybody else. This is the reason why the Most High God doesn't take us out, so that the nations don't make us look like fools. I have a question for all of you. For some of you, it may be a rhetorical question. For some of you, if you need to answer it, answer it. Do you love one another? Now, some of you are quick to answer, right? My question is, how do you know? Because it's not something that you can just say. It's something that you have to show and prove. And if I was in a courtroom and I asked you the same question, they don't want to just hear you say, yeah, I love one another, I love my people. They have to show you, they have to want you to validate with evidence of how you love. And what the Most High does, which we can't do most often, is show qualitative, quantitative, validative statements and things that he's actually done to prove that he loves us. Can we reciprocate in kind? Can we actually say the reasons why we love God and show that we love God? So I saw Kanye and he put the shirt on and, you know, regardless of whether you say he's bipolar, ain't nobody that crazy. Regardless of you saying this publicity is this, whatever, there's a point that you don't go beyond. So, I'm going to make this statement. Some of you may agree with it, some of you may not. Kanye, and he was with Candace Owens, right? Those are people who don't love themselves. That's why they can put on a shirt like that. Because they don't love themselves. So if they don't love themselves, they can't love their own kind. And a lot of us, as I said, we were quick to answer, but for you to love one another, you have to have certain love for yourself. I'm not talking about an egotistical sense of love, because usually people who have a high sense of egoism are people who actually don't love themselves. So they build up a superficial sense of self-esteem to protect the fact that they're void inside. My thing is, if you love self, that means you have an understanding of what it means to be of a good character, to be valid. You're proud of who you are, not that egotistical pride, but you know that it's important, right? To be Israel, it's important to worship the true and the living God. It's important to keep his laws. It's important to be black. It's important to love your sister, love your brother, and love your children with a high level of respect. Those things are important to you. It's important to you not to send the wrong message. I saw some of the BET Awards, and I forgot her name, Glorilla. She's up there singing, and I'm like, I'm watching this, and, and then, the algorithm starts happening, and she's singing her song, and then the other songs come on that she's singing, and I'm listening to her and the other people from the same hood that sound like she's sounding. Only thing they talk about is their private parts and how much money that they spending and how they hate other black men and all types of stuff like that. And you forget, even though I'm taking this in and I can say I'm turning the channel and this is ridiculous, this is what your kids are eating. This is part of your children's diet. And what we don't understand is that she gets rewarded for spilling poison in the minds of people in her own community. And I don't hate people for it, because when you put people in poverty, you manage them, because nobody wants to be poor. But you're able to manage and maneuver and manipulate the mind of people because they're trying to escape poverty, and they don't know what they're doing to compromise their own kind in the wickedness that they practice. Ha-Azinu. look at this a little bit differently. Moses is teaching us everything that we've done wrong and everything that we're going to do wrong. He's speaking, and this is a transcendent document. I had the privilege of speaking. Taïa invited me to this BINAH Zoom for, they were doing the days of penance before Yom Kippur. The topic that I chose was, they provided the topic. The topic that I chose was, what is God trying to tell me through my Tanakh study? And what I explained was, the book, the Tanakh, the Torah is transcendent. It goes beyond space and time. So there's no one message that God ever gives you in any particular time. There's things that I've read now that I didn't understand when I read them when I was 19, didn't understand when I was 10, but I read it. I know I read it. It's the same thing, but maybe the experience changed. Maybe my manhood changed. Maybe my experience in relationships and something that I went through allowed me to see what was actually happening when I read that portion again, when I read that psalm again, or when I read that portion in the Torah again, because things change and your mind is open to different things as the Most High God decides to reveal things to you. That's why sometimes you may talk to Christians and you may see that their mind, or anybody else, and their minds are closed to certain things. It's because it is not revealed to them. And God grants revelation to who he wants to grant revelation to. Amen. And that's your blessing. Amen. You be busting. And a lot of times we think we have to go and argue with people. God defends itself. You think the book actually defends its own self. Your obligation is your obligation, but God defends itself. So I don't got to sit there and compete with you and show you portion in book or whatever the case may be. Like now, even when it comes to the whole Christian story, I can tell this to my Messianic brothers and sisters or people who believe in JC. If God wanted to send anybody to do the job that he needed to do himself, why would he wait this long to send somebody? Just think about it. What dispensation of time does God choose to do something when he controls all time? You got to think about that. Because mankind been messing up. Mankind always needed laws and Torah. Mankind always needed it. So what place and time do you think that God decided to say, I'm going to drop this here to let everybody understand that this guy's my son and this is a savior and all this stuff like that? That's why he gives you a Torah. It's a manuscript so that you can have it forever. That when you die, somebody else can pick it right back up. That the laws, statutes, and commandments and judgments are always relevant. There's never a time that this thing is not important. All right, when God says we destroy each other, we are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about the sensibility of Torah in a time like this when people don't know how to act towards one another. And all you need is to go back to this book that was given to us over 2,000 years ago to make sense out of your life. You don't need rocket science. You just need to know how to be kind, generous, and upright. That's it. And if those basic principles elude you, think about it. Where is God in your life? Brothers and sisters, there will always be a consequence for not honoring your parents. There will always be a consequence for murdering your brother. There will always be a consequence for adultery. There will always be society is trying to make you think that it's okay to live without these things. It's okay to marry man and woman. It's okay. You don't understand the principles of life. I'm going to go into some portions. I'm going to hopefully flush them out. Some books and some readings, but I need you to understand that Torah was not given to us because of some grace, right? Torah was given to us as a method of survival. If you want something to work, you follow the instructions of the person that made it. Stop banging your remote control and throwing it against the wall when you put the batteries in wrong. You did that. You decided, and we like, we people, we quick, we think we know what the instructions entail already. You up there and you put the light bulb in. Light bulb keep blowing out. You keep putting in 120 watt, and the thing calls for 40 watt. Simple things. Man, why my thing, this thing keep busting holes in the wall? Because you putting nails in the wall for wood instead of sheetrock and studs. It's us. It's us who are volatile, who are hasty, and who don't like to listen to the word of the Most High God. It's us. So let's begin the portion of Ha-Azinu. And before he starts to read, I want you to reflect on just a lot of what has been going on, a lot of the things that have been going on around about us, a lot of the ills that we face in our community, a lot of the ills we face in your own family, in this organization itself, D.C.B. A lot of the things that we prayed for during Yom Kippur, and now we're in the post-fast. What are we doing to manifest those changes in our lives? Tamshi.
We're in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 1. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Give ear, ye heavens, and I will speak, and let the earth hear the words of my mouth. My doctrine shall drop as the rain, and my speech shall distill as the dew, as the small rain upon the tender grass, and as the showers upon the herb. For I will proclaim the name of Yahuwah. Ascribe ye greatness unto our God, the rock. His work is perfect, for all his ways are justice. A God of faithfulness and without iniquity.
I want to stop there. The first thing Moshe did is glorify the Most High God.
Amen.
He's glorifying the Most High God for a couple of reasons. Number one, his name is to be praised and glorified. But he's also using key words to show the characteristics of a righteous king.
Right.
4 says the rock. His work is what?
Perfect.
Perfect.
Uh-huh.
For all his ways are what?
Justice.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
We're people who have the why me complex.
Yeah.
We walk around acting like we're victims. And the reason why we do that is because we don't audit ourselves to clearly understand the things we've done wrong, to show that we deserve every bit of punishment and hardship that we get. And more, because most of us are deserving of death. Right. But the mercy is, I'm going to let you live to understand a mistake that you made so that hopefully you can change it. Justice. When Moses is speaking now, when he's talking about the Most High God and said his ways are justice, he's giving you also a glimpse of what you are supposed to be, but not. Oftentimes, I get up and I talk, and the condemnation is that, people have a problem with some of the divisions in Israel. And, they actually think that these divisions are a problem. And I want you to start to think that maybe God is causing these divisions for a reason. Right? Maybe it ain't just people who are angry and losing their minds and have attitudes and stuff like that. Maybe you have to think about the pure fact that the Most High God set some things in place. People do not want to practice it, and as you speak about it, You do not want to hold the people accountable that need to be held accountable for the things that they do. Because we don't have a sense of justice. We don't want to believe that. What we want to do is push them to the side. So there's a difference between people who want peace and who want quiet. Peace comes with order, justice, reconciliation, resolution. That's what peace comes with. Quiet, let's forget about that and move on. And when you read Torah, Torah doesn't work that way. Christianity works so well with manipulation because that's what people do to manipulate. You say, forget about the fact that these things and atrocities has happened because they taught us how to do that. You know, love your masters, do cheerfully by them, stuff like that, whatever. And they were only reading portions. The slaves were only given portions of the Bible that fit the slave master's need. But they were teaching us how to think in a way where we're more merciful to other people who did us wrong than we are good to each other. You know, I found out, not to go too far left, but you know, dark-skinned brothers is back in style, right? You know, we back. You back, you know what I'm saying? Sorry, light-skinned brothers, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we're trying to take back the throne, you know what I mean? Part of the issue where people thought that being dark was ugly, right? It had more to do with managing the social system of rewarding light-skinned people over dark-skinned people. So therefore, if you were light-skinned, you would actually have a better life. I had a relative at one time who was so light, they thought he was either Italian or Jewish. He went to go buy a house, right? And he told the lady that he was black, and the lady put white on his mortgage papers anyway. Because she knew that he would get the mortgage and he put down white. The world still works like that. Yep. And let's stop pretending kumbaya because that don't exist. So when we're looking for a level of solidarity, we're looking for group survival that they're not going to allow us, and we're never going to be allowed in to make the progress we need to be a strong community. That's not, and there's no way, it ain't their job. I get it now, white man. I get it, American government, I get it. Our only salvation is God, but that will come from us cooperating with one another. A God of faithfulness and without iniquity. So, the second reason why Moshe is saying all of this stuff, because it's a condemnation to the children of Israel. He's saying these things because Israel did not show any reciprocity of these attributes towards God. I want you to understand the power of faithfulness. On the street, at least at one time, we used to say word is bond. Right? Word is bond, 5%. Word is bond. Why? Because my word is my bond. That means I'm bonded by the stuff that I say at my mouth. I can't say you, brother this, brother that. We down, we crew, we this, whatever the case may be. You know, my life for your life, and we live in a society where we don't mean that. That we have no commitment towards anything in this day and time. And I know sometimes we say, well, people say you shouldn't snitch, and you should snitch on this situation, whatever the case may be. The whole thing about not snitching is showing that you are down for something and you won't betray that trust. Right? At one time, it was important for us not to snitch because we had enough community that we can handle certain things amongst ourselves. Right. Now, you wouldn't be on the block being molested. You know what I mean? Like you're going to turn up somewhere. Yeah, you may turn up, you know, in the garbage box or something like that if they found out. Certain things you just couldn't do in the community without somebody getting at you. But that's when you had a community. Now, when you have a society of everything goes, that starts to become the practice of the people. And we believe that it's okay for us to be in a state of being where we can stab each other in the back, but come to Shabbat teachings and pray to the same God. Some of you probably had to read this book if you were any type of social science class or anything dealing with social services, whatever, but just to have an understanding of the population that you deal with, which is something I'm going to start to emphasize. If you're going to be in a position, especially in this nation, and you don't have a diagnosis of what your people are dealing with, either get it or step down. You have to level up because your people are going to come through suffering. They are suffering. They're dealing with issues. Right. So we have to have an understanding of what people are dealing with before we get up and start to talk about God, but you don't know how to relate God to the situations that are going on with his people. Mm-hmm. Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Paulo Freire. Page 91 is during the second chapter, this is the first paragraph. At the bottom, it says, false love, false humility, and feeble faith in others cannot create trust. Trust is contingent on the evidence which one party provides the others of his true concrete intentions. It cannot exist if that party's words do not coincide with their what? Actions. That means you just can't tell me you love me. You got to show me that you love me.
That's right.
What is the problem with Israel? Israel is okay with the conversation of love, but not the action and the actual performance of love. Part of the reason why we suffer from that is because we allow things to penetrate in our societies and in our communities, right? But we don't enforce the righteousness of the whole matter. What do I mean when I say that? Don't you know that every day or every interaction is a learning experience and you enforce your norms by the things you do on a daily basis? If I let somebody come around me and insult me and insult people in the congregation, but I do nothing about it, I am saying that that's okay. Yep. I don't got to get there and be like, that's okay. By my actions, I'm showing you that I don't have a problem with what these people are doing. Right. If I let whoremongers run around and say, oh, that's just Chief so-and-so's son, or that's just so-and-so, we know him for years, and we are enabling wickedness around us, we're saying that we don't have a problem with it. Yeah. So, this is not a condemnation. It gets to a point where what are you going to accept and what are you going to reject? And you have to stop making people look like villains and mad because they want standards. That's a fact. It's not wicked to have standards. It's not oppressive to have standards. It's more oppressive if you don't. That's a fact. Because there's always that person that decides, I'm not going to be on my own reconnaissance. I'm going to do what I feel like doing and wild out. Yeah. And then they're going to look at you crazy like, well, I ain't know you can't dress like this in the Knesset, and I ain't know that this was the problem, and I ain't know that I was a problem because they say, well, you ain't had no rules, whatever the case may be. And you think that grown people would have an understanding on how to do certain things. Right. You think we've been in this way of life long enough knowing what to do and what not to do? Right. Sorry. Because there's always people that push the envelope. As me and you may understand, everybody may not. And there are people that may understand and still try to push the envelope anyway. Because that's human character. Mm-hmm. God is talking to the whole nation. Why did Most High say that you should destroy certain people and stone certain people if everything was going to be perfect? The Lord didn't come to us to like a robotic thing that sprinkled down to make us be righteous. It didn't work that way. We had hard judgments to enforce what was right and what was wrong. Israelites, that means if somebody amongst you does X, Y, and Z, this is their punishment. You know why? Because somebody's going to do it. And remember, prophecy already told you that we did every nasty thing under the sun. Everything that God said not to do, we did. We robbed from one another. We raped and pillaged one another. We practiced homosexuality. We practiced adultery, false gods. We did all of it. We did all of it. Why? Because we thought that we were good, that everything was okay. It's something very interesting. When we went in the book of Joshua, we decided not to wipe out the nations. We decided to make them slaves. And part of the problem is when people care more about power, right, than righteousness, you're going to see certain behaviors that all of a sudden, like, wow, before you was condemning this, and now that you're in charge, you're accepting a lot of things. You know, now it's convenient for you to accept things that you didn't accept in the past, showing that your conviction level is based on your status, not your righteousness. So now, we taking these people in and making them slaves and not killing them off. And the angel of the Most High God came to the people and said, you know, y'all taking these people that y'all are supposed to wipe out because that was your mission. These people are going to be a snare to you. A snare. You know what a snare is? It's a trap. And you think about it, we had all types of issues. We were in the land serving false gods. We had a civil war because, you know, Benjamin didn't want to give up rapists. And, you know, we had all types of issues going on amongst us as a people. And you can't get yourself together around other people. And God wants you to be your best, but you are around the Hittites, the Canaanites, the Amorites, and you just finished killing off their family. You think they like you? You think they got your best interest in mind? Even the slaves. God said, get rid of them. But we don't like to listen. Faith. If you're going to be down with something, be down with it 100%. Stop. Oh, as long as it's convenient for me, I'm with something. That's not how life works. That may be how America works, but America is not lasting too long. But that's not how life works. For you to stand there and see things happen within your nation and turn the blind eye because you care more about your popularity amongst people instead of the progress of the people shows that your heart is not for God, your heart is for you. As a man, I don't care a lot about the politics of the nation. I clearly understand that they exist. I'm not a fool. I'm not stupid. But at the end of the day, God is going to judge us all, and God is going to give us all salvation if we deserve it. So I don't have to worry about my popularity if I'm living right. Because if you're popular amongst the right people, it's not a problem. But some of us are popular amongst everybody. Come on, I mean, I don't got to be friends with I don't got to be friends with everybody. Let me not even say that. I don't got to be friends with everybody. I don't have to be. Liars, thieves, cutthroats, backstabbers, and everybody. And my whole thing is not about me hating them, but when there's opportunity for us to grow and be better and we choose not to, that's on us. And trust me, I'm not better than anybody, but I'm better than that.
Right.
And the person that's practicing that is better than that. We all better than that. We are better than the wickedness that we see. We can rise above the unrighteousness that we practice on a day-to-day basis. We can be better than that. And God is showing us that we can be better than that. He wants us to be better than that. He pleads for us to be better than that. Because that's the burden. As I said, Erykah Badu Bag Lady is one of the best songs ever written. And she just ain't talking about women.
Nope.
That wickedness is nothing but baggage. You know, I want you to envision this. Get on the train. And, you know, sometimes homeless people, they carry the bags with them.
Yeah.
Because that's all their belongings. Mm-hmm. And if you know about the homeless population, sometimes they got to go to shelter and so they got to cover all of this stuff. You because they don't want nobody stealing from them, whatever. But if they don't want to get in the shelter, or they may not be able to make the shelter on time, they got to walk around with the bag. And the bag has filthy stuff in it, clothes. Some of them have the drugs. Some of them have all types of stuff inside their bags. I want you to picture that bag as sin. And how you, the same way you look at that bag and that person with this level of detestation, God is looking at you like that person that you see carrying that bag. And if you ever saw those bags, half of the stuff they're holding on to is mental. They don't even need it.
Yep.
They don't need it. What do you need with 3 bottles of shampoo? And you're not washing. You'd be amazed at the stuff that people have in these bags. Books that they found on the street. They'll argue over that book. And the book don't got nothing to do with them. There's a guy walking around with a book about a woman's menstrual cycle. What? They don't got nothing to do with you, Paul. But this is us. This is our insanity. And you better not touch that book. Because that book is his. So you rid yourself of that iniquity, that sin. Because it's nothing but baggage. Let me end out this portion here. To say one thing and do another, to take one's own word lightly, cannot inspire trust. To glorify democracy and to silence the people is a farce. To discourse on humanism and to negate people is a lie. Why am I bringing this out? Part of the indictment that Moses is bringing toward the children of Israel, remember, we said things like, we love God. We'll be his people. Moses, don't let God talk to us. If anything that the Most High God say we're going to do, we don't want to talk to him face to face. We said those things out our mouth. Right. We committed ourselves to being God's people, and we lied. In this day and time, how many of us are part of congregations or know people who, they sit amongst us, they may be the person in charge, they may be chief men and princes, rabbis, whatever you want to call it, Kohens, whatever, any title that you may have in this community. And we are week by week, day by day, going over precepts of the Most High God with the understanding that we are trying to elevate ourselves spiritually. So we're teaching all of these values, teaching law, teaching not to steal, teaching not to commit adultery, teaching not to lie to one another, but we're doing the opposite in our personal lives. This superficial image that you see is exactly what it is. It's a superficial image. If I don't match my talk with my actions day to day, then I am worthless. Another word for worthless is what? Vain. That means I know how to put on a good show. I know how to make you shout and get up and down and jump and, oh, the teachings was good. But my attitude, my character as a man, what am I if I'm not trying to strive for everything that I say that I'm supposed to be? So trust me, if you are a good teacher, the first person you indict is yourself. Mm-hmm. So I tell people, listen, if you're a teacher, you clearly understand that when you talk Torah, that sword cuts both ways. Because I just can't condemn you and I'm a part of you. I'm here. We are part of the same problem. Therefore, we have to be part of the same solution. Nobody's special, man. And I think this is what we get wrong. We decide that we want to be kings. And God anointed no one. No one. God gave none of us the authority. Every authority that we have chosen to take that position. But if you choose to take it, you are responsible for it. Faithfulness. I'm not asking you to be perfect because I'm not perfect. but I'm asking you to do something. I'm asking you to be down for something. Don't you know some of the worst things that I've seen, and it's partly our fault, partly the people's fault. But when division happens, there are people that take advantage of the division, like kids taking back advantage of divorced parents. Mm-hmm. You know, you come to one place and, you know, all of a sudden somebody sat in the chair that you wanted to sit in, and all of a sudden you're bouncing, going to the same, and you know we don't get along with certain people. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that that is a good thing that we don't get along or whatever. My issue is these are not situations you should take advantage of. Because it's just as bad as the situation existing. We don't want the situation to exist. Mm-hmm. Trust me, if I had the power to fix it all, I would fix it all in a heartbeat. Mm. But half of the times, I didn't create the problem. But what I'm learning how to do, if I'm going to be any type of leader in this nation, there are problems and things that I'm going to see that regardless of what, if I started, if I didn't start it, I'm still accountable for it. One time I was talking to Mac, I said, you know, there's things that have happened to people that had nothing to do with me, and when I talk to them, I apologize. Mm-hmm. I apologize for the fact that as a citizen in Israel, that you had to go through something like that and nobody said nothing. Because sometimes all it takes is somebody taking some accountability for something.
That's a fact.
For something. Everything is not, it ain't my fault. Okay, it's not my fault, but still, if the mess is on the floor, who's going to clean it up? Because somebody else will slip.
That's right.
I remember Cohen said one time he was teaching, he said, you know, he was walking through a shop and there was like a bunch of papers on the floor. And he started to pick up the, you know, and, you know, people, oh, Cohen, you shouldn't be picking that up, whatever the case may be. And his whole thing is like, number one, it's a mess. I'm the person that saw the mess. I'm going to clean the mess up.
Right.
If anybody should clean the mess up, and it's my place, it should be me. Right? But sometimes also people don't recognize the mess. Like everybody's walking by it because they're oblivious to the fact that the mess is on the floor. But he's the one that detail-oriented one that's looking at the fact that the mess is there, but you didn't pay attention to the mess until I started to look at the mess and pick it out. Sometimes we all have to put our eyes and ears on alert when it comes to the things that are going on around about us. We all have to be the guardians and the protectors of this movement. Our God is a God of faithfulness. My question to you is, where's your faith? Very rhetorical, but if you can answer it if you want to. But where's your faith? How committed are you to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? His laws, the redemption of his people. What are you trying to do? Because I've sat through a bunch of people who complain, and just like the children of Israel in the wilderness, we complain. We don't got water, we don't got meat, we don't got this, we don't got that, whatever the case may be, but we never show what we're willing to do. Some sheep.
Just and right is he, verse 5. Is corruption his? No. His children is the blemish, a generation crooked and perverse. Do ye thus requite Jehovah, O foolish people and unwise? Is not he thy father that hath gotten thee? Hath he not made thee and established thee? Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will declare unto thee, thine elders, and they will tell thee. When the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the children of men, he set the borders of the peoples according to the number of the children of Yisrael. For the portion of Jehovah is his people, Jacob the lot of his inheritance.
Stop there. Even though Moshe is going to an indictment of the children of Israel, he is letting us all understand the value that we have in God's eyes.
Right.
You know, your portion is what you inherit, right? Something that strictly belongs to you. We live in a solar system. We call our God the King of the universe because we clearly understand he's the maker of all things and everything.
Right.
Right? I don't want to bug y'all out, but I'm going to say this. Somebody had to tell me this. This is a brother from high school. And he made a statement. He said, I think the question was, are there other life forms on this in this universe? And he said, no doubt. Right? And he said it confidently. And I was just like, I want to hear this. he said, God is a creator. That's what he does. That's his occupation. He makes all things. There's things on this planet we have yet to discover that scientists will tell you. There's a bunch of species of insects and things and beings that men don't even know about yet. There's things that are in the depths of the water because we can't go there that are existing. So what makes you think that God in this one solar system, there's a bunch of solar systems around in this world, didn't create other life forms in different places? There's things that exist that human beings can't see with the naked eye, big and small. His understanding is not our understanding, and what he does is beyond the scope of what we can imagine. So when he says the king of the universe, that means all things in existence. Says Israel is his portion. That means if you think about Star Trek and they be on Kronos and SETI Alpha 5 and, you know what I'm saying? If you think about Star Wars and they be on the planet Naboo with all this type of stuff like that, all of these places, God looks at us as his portion. I'm just trying to give you a picture because you look at Star Wars, you got all types of aliens and people with goat heads and stuff like that. Israel is his portion out of everything that you see. So you see why the nations are jealous. We are his portion, not just on this planet, in the universe. And Jacob, the lot of his inheritance, Tamshi.
Verse 10. He found him in a desert land and in the wastes a howling wilderness. He compassed him about. He cared for him. He kept him as the apple of his eye. As an eagle that stirreth up her nest, hovereth over her young, spreadeth abroad her wings, taketh them, bearing them on her pinions. Yahweh alone did lead him, and there was no strange God with him. He made him ride on the high places of the earth, and he did eat the fruitage of the field. He made him to suck honey out of the crag and oil out of the flinty rock, curd of kine and milk of sheep with the fat of lambs, and rams of the breed of Bashan, and he-goats with the kidney fat of wheat, and the blood of the grape thou drinkest foaming wine. But Yeshurun waxed fat and kicked. Thou didst wax fat, thou didst grow thick, thou didst become gross. And he forsook Yah who made him, and contemned the rock of his salvation. They roused him to jealousy with strange gods. With abominations did they provoke him. They sacrificed unto demons, no gods, gods that they knew not, gods that came up of late.
I want to clarify the term demon. It's an English word that they put inside there. We don't have demons. We don't believe in demons. But that word is also it's an attribute to, I forgot the word, is Shem. Shadim. Shadim is a word that they say more than likely was borrowed from the Akkadian or Babylonian language, which means it's another term for spirits. And it's ironic that a lot of us in our community, we're into spirits now, right? We're into practicing different things, the spirits, certain religions with spirits and stuff like that. But God is letting you know that that's what we did. We practice the worship of different spirits. But that's where that word comes from. It's not demons. Tamshi.
They sacrificed unto demons no gods, gods that they knew not, new gods that came up of late, which your fathers dreaded not. Of the rock that begot thee thou was unmindful, and didst forget Yah that bore thee. And Yahweh was sore and spurned because of the provoking of his sons and his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be. For they are a very froward generation, children in whom is no faithfulness. They have roused me to jealousy with the no God. They have provoked me with their vanities. And I'll rouse them to jealousy with the no people. I'll provoke them with a vile nation.
So 2 things I want to bring out. He called us children in whom there is no faithfulness. So you notice there's a lot of people that have a lot of things to say about the children in this day and time. Some of it is very right. We have a generation that they don't have any dedication towards much of anything. But the reason why this generation acts that way is because the people that are before them acted the same. We look at the things that we value, the things that we feel are important, things that we feel are substantial. And, you wonder why a young man today all he want to do is smoke weed, rap, and play video games. It's because he comes from people that all they wanted to do is smoke weed, rap, and play video games.
Yep.
Or do something vain. Right? The technology will change, but at the same time, it's always the same level of vanity. Get money. Remember what DMX said in Belly? Your daughter can't eat no books, dog.
Eat no books, dog.
Ain't no purpose. Get money. Born to die. And I know people that think that way. Most of them are not here. But we believe that we can go on and on and on and on and on and on and on with this vanity and without having to be responsible towards God and one another. Some people who come up and minister, whether they are imam, a preacher, a priest, pastor, rabbi, whatever they want to call themselves, they are trying to renew your faith in God. And what I read about reciprocity, sometimes what the aim of the reciprocity that some people in these positions take is because they want to give you this level of attention so that you can be dedicated towards their church or their mosque or whatever they're doing or whatever the case may be. And our exception is that we can no longer get people to dedicate themselves to anybody but God. I sincerely believe that if we all focus everything on our glory of the Most High God, we will all be better people. I don't want you dedicated to me. I don't want you dedicated to my camp. I want you dedicated to God.
Right.
You can be a good member of any congregation if you are dedicated to God. I'm not telling you to be aloof of the responsibilities of your place. I'm not saying not to be dedicated and a member of your place. What I'm saying is that your principal obligation is to serve God, not a person,
Teach us.
not a man,
Teach us.
not a person's cause. It's to serve God. If we all thought that way, then our direction would always be the same. Because we're focused on God's glory and not ourselves and not our egos and, not how special we think we are.
Teach us.
But what's crazy is that God don't look for us to have much and do much. But one thing we need to have is faith. And it's funny that he's calling us children that are faithless. And our father Abraham was the father of faith. Faith. Abraham's blessing was strictly based off of faith. God said he believed. He had no reason to believe, but he believed anyway. And God accounted to him that as righteousness.
Yep.
Character, man. Character means a lot. So when we look at us in our need to have faith, and we choose not to have faith in God, who has proven that he's faithful, but we choose not to be faithful to him, then what does that say about who we are? And not only who we are, the type of children we raise. You have to stop complaining about kids when they're watching you, when they see you, when they are observing you. Stop that, man. We say stupid stuff out of our mouth. Do as I say, not as I do. Human beings don't learn that way. No animal learns that way. And you are but flesh. Because they're going to listen to you for a minute. Oh, yeah. Abby and Amy said not to do X, Y, and Z because you're scared of a spanking, but how does that work when they're in an adult life? Because you're not going to always be around your parents. And sometimes those that you're not going to, the integrity is you ain't going to be around anybody. I'm hungry, man. I can eat the BLT, man. I can eat this. I can do this, whatever. I'm hungry. Staring right at me. I'm going to do the one night stand. Nobody watching. Yo, this is 10 G's, 10 racks in my face. Nobody standing around. I take it. I'll be good for a minute. I could pay rent, child support. I pay everything. I'll be all right for a minute. That's faith. The faith is the trust. And sometimes even in your worst dilemma, you have to learn how to trust in God.
That's right.
Every young reporter, the person that I reflect on the most is Joseph, our father Joseph. Because Joseph went from hated to slave in prison to governor of Egypt. Listen, I'm pretty sure that there's times that he was in jail and was like, I shouldn't be here. I ain't do nothing. But he always kept the right attitude. He shouldn't have been sold down to Egypt, but he clearly understood that at the end of it all, God had a purpose for his pain. We suffer, man, and we're going to suffer. Don't think that it's over. But what's the purpose of our pain? If not to learn from our mistakes, if not to be better people. Because there's people that are coming out of jail right now after doing 30-something years.
Right.
Innocent now, but the DNA is like, and they come out. And everybody's trying to look, oh, they better, they going to bug out, whatever the case may be. A lot of these brothers and sisters are just happy that they're out, that they can spend some of their last lives and last days of their lives free. They're thanking God for mercy in a situation where at one time they had no hope. They were going to die in jail, eating quarter waters and potato salad or whatever they feed them in jail. What's the big thing in jail now? Tofu. That was going to be their life. So when God says they arouse me to jealousy, like I said last week, God has emotions too. So when he creates and gives and provides and have mercy and you turn, now he doesn't deal with the nations the same way because he didn't make a bargain with the nations. So if the Greeks praise Zeus, go ahead. I'm not saying God is happy about it, but he doesn't expect much from those he didn't have covenant with.
Right.
I didn't have covenant with you. It's like you in a marriage, your wife go on the side on you and she's, you caught her messing around with somebody. You may be mad at the dude, but you don't know the dude. The dude is an animal. He could be anybody. You're like, he's generic.
Right.
But I had a covenant with you.
Right.
We went before somebody and made vows. We committed ourselves to one another. We had kids. He don't know. He's random. He's just doing what a savage does.
Savage.
But when you know better, God is going to hold you accountable. And he's saying, I've given you all of these things and you betrayed me. Let me tell you something. Maybe I have to get over it. Maybe I got to get over my trauma. But I don't look at betrayal and treachery as a light thing. Maybe I'm built different. I don't think that's a good thing. I don't think that's a good human trait to have. I don't think it's good to say one thing and perform another thing. Because I look at the end of the day, if you do it, that means it's something that's in your spirit. I don't want to be around you because I don't know when you're going to do it again. Stop telling me, oh, forgive me, Yom Kippur, la-da-da-da-da, whatever the case may be. No. Stop that. Stop that practice. Get that practice out of your spirit. Because there's nothing okay about people being treacherous. The same people that are treacherous to you are the same people who are treacherous to God. That's right. And don't lump us all up like, oh, we all, I know we all sin. That's not the point. The point is, we all got to get it together. Starting with those behaviors that are tearing us down as a people. Like that guy from that infiltrated Fred Hampton. Like I said, until the movie came out, I never knew he killed himself. Because I saw it, I was in the project. They had all of that stuff when I was young, right? All that stuff like, boom, and I said this. And I didn't want to clap my hand at the fact that this guy killed himself. But that's the most honorable thing after being a traitor like that. That man that man was a young man. He wasn't, you know what I'm saying? Even Malcolm and them, they were young guys when they got killed. But that guy was 20-something years old, making an effort. All he was doing was trying. And you decided to go on with a nasty, dirty government that didn't want to see people come together. And you infiltrated them, and all of us, you killed yourself. For what? For some money? They wasn't even giving them nothing. But as I say, when you don't have nothing, you compromise. You feel like you're rich. They're giving you peanuts to betray your own kind. This is why treachery is so wrong. Because you don't know what you destroy when you bring your own kind down.
Yep. That's a fact.
We don't need people like that. And you're going to have them, man. You always have people telling master something. You always had that amongst us, man. And it's always been nasty.
Yeah. That's how they get close to you. They look like you.
They're close to you, they befriend you, and we need friends, man. I need friends. I'm scared. Because people are like, brother, you brother, this and then. I love that. Yeah, you trying to make stuff happen, and you got a bunch of bums walking around, you're not trying to do nothing, and one person come up and try to make something happen, but they're not doing it for the right reasons, but you find yourself walking with people like, damn, this brother's dedicated. They hard, they working, I'm with that. But he's telling everything. Selling you out. Telling him where you eat coffee at, what's your favorite meal. He just had a son, he just had a daughter. Yeah. All embracing all types of stuff going on, and all of a sudden, they bringing your whole movement down. We got to do better. We got to do better. The first thing is learn how to keep faith with God. This is why we're here, to encourage one another to be better people before God. And I'm going to keep saying this. I know our brothers and sisters who still are clung on to the Christian faith, or those who call themselves Israelites who are still believing in that stuff, let them go. Let them go. Let them go. And I'm going to give you a question. Can you praise God without him? Let me tell you something. This may sound harsh. If Moses didn't exist, if David didn't exist, if Joshua didn't exist, there would still be a God. And his name would still be praised. Like who said, if we didn't have the prophecies and all of that stuff, and God just gave us Torah, we still would be good.
That's a fact.
Let's not take part in anybody else's agenda, but only the agenda that the Most High God has for us. Hallelujah. Tamshi.
Verse 22. For a fire is kindled in my nostril, and burneth unto the depths of the netherworld, and devoureth the earth with her produce, and setteth ablaze the foundations of the mountains. I will heap evils upon them, I will spend mine arrows upon them, the wasting of hunger and the devouring of the fiery bolt, and bitter destruction, and the teeth of beasts will I send upon them, with the venom of crawling things of the dust. Without shall the sword bereave, and in the chambers terror. slain both young man and virgin, the suckling with the man of gray hairs. I thought I would make an end of them. I would make their memory cease from among men. Were it not that I dreaded the enemy's provocation, lest their adversaries should misdeem, lest they should say, our hand is exalted, and not Yahweh have wrought all this. For they are a nation void of counsel.
They are a what?
A nation void of counsel.
What's the second verse says on that part?
And there is no understanding in them.
I want to stop there. Because I think sometimes we don't clearly understand that what you see with people who are in an enemy's land but kill their own soldiers.
Talk about it.
The destruction that is going to happen because when they come against you, you're going to have no one to fight with you. Why? You killed your brother over a gold chain.
Yeah, gold chain.
Pair of sneakers.
Yep.
You killed the person that's supposed to have your back over folly and stupidity. You broke up your marriage because your girlfriend told you something.
Uh-oh.
You wound up being in a situation of vanity and hatred because of social media.
Lonely.
Social media is the worst. It's the worst.
The worst.
It's the worst. It's people that are, they're trying to exemplify their self by trying to mirror themselves in the commercial so they can feel important.
It's all fake.
It's fake. It's a superficial construct. Listen, I'm watching The Matrix, and you think in your mind, that's never going to happen. It's already happening.
It's happening.
There's people that are putting themselves in The Matrix.
Yeah. Literally.
I be looking, I'm like, number one, who's taking the pictures of you? Who's taking the pictures? Because everything ain't a selfie. That means you got a fool that'll stand around and come on, we don't need to commercialize who we are.
Yep.
Sister, you're beautiful before Facebook and MySpace and all that. I'm going back. MySpace, all that stuff came about.
I need likes.
You don't need the reinforcement, but no, it's the drug. It's the dopamine hit.
Yeah, it's a dopamine. That's a fact.
And we become addicted to it. Like, I have to see how many people like my smile. I got to see how many people like my left butt cheek when I put it out on social media. We love it.
Real talk.
We love it.
That's a fact.
And it's also a cradle and a strong part of the reason why we're killing each another. Yo, son, if I see you again out on the block, you know what I'm saying? It's on. Pull up, son. This is my addy right here. You know what I'm saying? Don't worry about it. You the ops right now. La-da-da-da-da. And we Twitter thugs, and then we running around, and we actually killing one another over nothing. It's not really a real beef.
It's nothing.
It's a beef. It's an image. We have to destroy each other over our image.
There you go. Teach us.
So I want to talk about this family unit for a second. I want to go into Welsing. And I want to get us to understand something, because part of a big issue, and especially I'm going to say this in Israel, we, as I said, we all have this character of Torah, righteousness, but we don't know how to talk with one another. We don't know how to talk to one another. You know what I mean? When you sit there and you get at a person, and I'm going to say this, there's some behaviors that I see people who are 40, 50, 30, 70, 60 years old practice that we don't even accept with our children.
Right.
I want to tell y'all something that's funny, that's really hypocritical of us. If you saw your kids fighting, right, and you sat back and saw your children call another child, you a dummy. That's why you stupid. That's why you doing bad in school. If you heard something like that from your kids, what would you do? You first of all, you're getting at everybody for fighting, because you should teach your kids they shouldn't be fighting, especially over something stupid. But you shouldn't be fighting, right? Then you get to the bottom of the matter. If you ever talk to your brother like that again, first of all, you're getting the marker now off top.
Regardless.
And if you ever talk to your brother like that again, why? Because their esteem and their value comes from this place, home.
That's right.
They need home to fight the world.
Teach us.
So when you get condemned in your own house, how can you sit there and fight what's you're being bombarded with in the world out there?
Talk about it.
Don't you know I finally realized that the teachers in school did not like me? They acted like they don't like Israelite kids. They like everything going according to their program.
Like robot.
I'm not saying they hate you, but they don't listen. It's a lot to do with this guy that you got to treat special, and why is this Negro special?
Yeah.
Why he got to be accommodated because he don't celebrate Christmas and this why, whatever the case may be. Whether the teachers are Jews or non-Jews or black, whatever, they don't like you because you are different. They like the program. And they don't like anything that deviates from the program.
Yep. Teach us.
So when you teaching certain things and you're not out there and you're not trying to split up families and you're not with the women's labor and you're not with the LGBTQ and all of that stuff like that, because you're not hating nobody, but you're trying to protect what God has given you.
Yep.
Do you understand that? Because we live in a world of agendas. And America has an agenda. So I'm sitting there, I'm not fighting you because that's what you, this is America. This is not Eretz Israel. We was in Babylon, Egypt. We were with all the freaks, all the crazy people, all the idol worshipers. We saw it all. Mm-hmm. America is nothing new. But how do we protect us? Welsing states, when these fundamentals, and she's talking about black male, female identification in the household. When these fundamental issues are placed in perspective, when black men and women are struggling together for these objectives as opposed to fighting one another, that have everything to do with the development of the black family life, black male children will be able to grow up respecting themselves as future men. Right. Thus, they will recognize the purpose of disciplined study to achieve academically. You smoking weed.
Talk about this.
You smoking weed. I don't have no problem with you smoking weed. Are your grades all A's? Are you working? Are you in school? If you can't manage that, you shouldn't be able to touch another one.
That's it.
They will cease desiring to be females. Sometimes you think the men's desire to be a female is him being effeminate and acting whatever. No, it's desiring to be in a female character where they're being taken care of. They're living in their mama's house for 105 years. All of those stuff like that. They're attributing that to female attributes. I'm not discarding the social construct that exists in this day and time with breadwinning and getting money. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about societal structure. Right? Where at one time, it was a responsibility of men to go out and do something. Right? And it was a responsibility of women to go out and do something, and both supported each other in their roles. Now, we don't have the roles that we're supposed to have, and now, you get a guy, he's just an impregnator, smoking weed and playing video games. He's not of value. Not to his family, not to his kids, not to his society. He's not doing anything. He's not doing anything worth. Because he was never taught that he had any validity outside of being a sex machine or anything of that nature. That's what he knows. Or he could get a gun and kill somebody. Or he know how to roll up. There's more to you than that, brother.
That's right. Stop it.
Black female children will grow up respecting themselves as future women, supported, protected, and respected by their own men. And they will learn to respect black men as men. Focusing on these external common objectives, black men and women will be freed from the present destructive competition with one another and will instead learn to work as a team in order to compete successfully with their common oppressors for the maximal development of themselves and their children. You know who has the lowest wealth in this country? Y'all not answering because y'all already know the answer. Who has the lowest wealth? Amongst all ethnic groups in this country. We have a lot of money, right, but we don't have a lot of wealth.
Right.
Certain places they show that white people have this much money in the bank, Hispanics have this much money in the bank, Asians have this much money in the bank, but this is how much black people have in the bank. Half of us don't believe in banks, but we don't have anything in the bank. And the reason why is because the last 30 years, we have been separating our family unit with the idea that we thought that things would be better when we take somebody out the family unit. It got worse.
Yep.
I don't care if your household is female run or whatever run, it's worse. We don't have enough because we didn't build together. We thought that, hey, you know, and society taught that. You know, I've seen it. I can see a Jewish couple going to get welfare. I see the couple going in to get welfare together.
Yep. All the time.
If a couple, if black men come inside, go to work, get a job, this, whatever. And the problem was, what I found out in doing my research, wasn't that we wanted welfare. We just wanted something to get by because most of the jobs that we had were menial. But they said, oh, if he makes over the certain threshold, you can't get these benefits. You mean I can't get the free housing?
Right.
Free food stamps?
Right.
I can't get the free Medicaid?
Right.
I can't get the cash assistance because he's here? He got to go.
Right.
Or we got to do a Charlene, whatever. He got to hide. But he can't Claudine, excuse me. He said Charlene. He got to hide. But that became a social engineering project that they needed to make us downtrodden and put us in a situation where we are forced to separate ourselves. And will instead learn to work as a team in order to compete successfully with their common oppressors for the maximal development of themselves and their children. But black people must not only commit themselves to combating inferiorization through the struggle for maximizing development, we must, as a part of the struggle, begin to establish standards of academic achievement and codes of behavior conduct for black children. Why? Because most of the stupid things and the things we learn or towards self-hatred, we learn from this age as babies. We learn to mock one another and tease one another and talk bad on one another and backbite because we see other people do it. We see parents do it. These standards and codes will serve as the fundamental basis for developing black self and group respect. Without true self-respect, all efforts for achievement will be in vain. In keeping with that goal, all black children before the age of 6 should be taught the following fundamental exercises in black self-respect by black adult examples in the home, school, church, and neighborhood. Stop name calling one another. That's first. I found out, and I'm going to say this, you may get at me saying I'm saying this, whatever, but you call somebody a name, and you like name calling. You like name calling other Israelites, right? I found out that what happened to you is your growth and development as a human being got stunted. So you talk and act as a child would act. You may be a grown man or a grown woman doing it, but only children walk around calling each other names. I had a friend when I was in school, Arashid. We was in 4th grade, I think. Arashid came to school and he used to smell like urine. And there were those of us, number one, enough of us that clearly knew that he didn't desire to come to school smelling like urine.
Right.
So we never teased Arashid. Sometimes it was hard to bear Arashid, but we never teased him and made him feel other than what he was, because we thank God at a young age that our parents didn't send us to school like that, because maybe he didn't have any parents. Maybe the situation he was going through was beyond something that he could control. Do you think about that when it comes to your own? And this, we were young kids and knew that, you know, well, we ain't going to sit there and like tease him and make him feel bad, because I'm pretty sure if he had a choice, he wouldn't come to school smelling like that.
Right.
I don't know what his situation was, but we knew enough because none of us were rich.
Right.
So we didn't have any right to look down on anybody.
That's right.
But we knew enough not to condemn him. But if there are amongst us people who are in this nation that are still walking around trying to insult people, there's something wrong with them. I'm telling you, there's something mentally. Their growth is stunted. You don't have the ability to deal with somebody, brother. I don't like what you said, whatever. But you're not gonna call me out my name.
Right.
Stop cursing at one another. Stop squabbling with one another. Stop gossiping about one another. Stop snitching on one another. Stop being discourteous and disrespectful towards one another. Stop robbing one another. And when I hear the word rob, it's not just material things. Don't rob anybody of their self-respect. Don't rob people of their dignity. Don't rob anybody of anything. Don't rob people of their feelings. Don't rob nobody. You don't have the right to do that. Stop stealing from one another. Stop fighting one another. Stop killing one another. Stop using and selling drugs to one another. Now, I remember that commercial when you was young, and the older guy said, "Where you learn to do this from? You learn to do this. Where you learn to do these drugs?" And he said, "You, Dad. I learned about watching you."
Kids who do drugs, parents.
Exactly. Parents who do drugs, who have kids who do drugs. And some of us, you have to define what the norms is. But I'm going to say this. If your child doesn't have his priorities straight, they shouldn't be doing anything. Even if you have your priorities straight, you have to watch what you do around your kids. There's some things that kids are not supposed to see. They shouldn't even know that you do it. And there's norms, like, it's normal, which is crazy. It's normal at one time to have people smoke cigarettes. I never understood. I think cigarettes is the worst thing in the world. I'm not even I thought cigarettes was way worse than weed. I thought cigarettes, they smelled nasty. They did more harm to your body. But the commercialization, somebody say it for me?
Commercialization
of cigarettes made it okay to the public eye. Until recently, where people actually had to sue the cigarette manufacturers so that they take cigarette commercials off of billboards and stuff like that, whatever the case may be, because they're already addictive. You don't even need to have a TV show and all that stuff about that. And at one time, you'd be on TV and you'd be able to smoke and da-da-da-da. They took that off the TV, But all of these things are coming to us trying to be the righteous examples before our kids. We have to make sure that we stay consistently righteous examples because your children are being bombarded with evil.
That's a fact.
Every day, everything they see, everything they watch. Lastly, she puts, which is true, stop throwing trash and dirt on the streets and in places where black people live, work, and learn. And you may think that's a small thing, but dirt and trash, it has a psychological effect.
That's a fact.
On people. When you see stuff like that around you, you start to look at yourself in a low atmosphere. And that it's okay. I would wonder why there's no condemnation against people that live in NYCHA. But I will always wonder why that brothers be pissing in the NYCHA elevators. It's always like, why brothers always pissing in the elevator? Like, I gotta find somewhere to go to the bathroom if I'm in that state. They'll just go and right and pee because they don't have a value towards it. They don't have a value towards their environment. They don't value anything, and you don't value much, you'll do anything anywhere. So you walk around and you wonder why, in the white people neighborhood, they have bags and the dogs poop and they put the bag down and they clean up and they go to the next thing and they dump it inside there, and they win prizes and they're incentivized to keep their communities clean. And I go in my neighborhood and there's doo-doo everywhere. And nobody even makes an attempt to clean it up. It's the respect. You have no respect for your own environment, which shows just a part of your esteem as an individual. Let's continue in a portion and finish it out.
Verse 29. If they were wise, they would understand this. They would discern their latter end. How should one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to flight? Except their rock had given them over, and Yahweh had delivered them up. For their rock is not as our rock, even our enemies themselves being judges. For their vine is of the vine of Sodom and the fields of Gomorrah, Their grapes are grapes of gall, their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the venom of serpents and the cruel poison of asps. Is not this laid up in store with me, sealed up in my treasuries? Vengeance is mine and recompense against the time when their foot shall slip. For the day of their calamity is at hand, and the things that are to come upon them shall make haste. For Jehovah will judge his people, and repent himself for his servants. When he seeth that their stay is gone, and there is none remaining, shut up or left at large, and it is said, where are their gods, the rock in whom they trusted, who did eat up the fat of their sacrifices and drink the wine of their drink offerings? Let him rise up and help you. Let him be your protection. See, now that I, even I am he, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I have wounded and I heal, and there is none that can deliver out of my hand.
Meaning, and this is the testament then, and this is a testament now. There's nobody without God. He has no sidekick. There's nobody in the front or the rear. I kill. I make alive. I have wounded and I heal. And this is when Moses stopped talking. This is God talking. And the reason why you have to learn these principles as things that are important, because when you understand that we are not people who believe in the devil that is the cause of evil on this planet. Our God is the cause of all things and everything. When we say he's one, we really mean he's one. Echad. There is no, there's a person fighting with, nobody fights with God. There are no rebellious angels that can challenge the Most High God. Messages. That goes against that contradicts the purpose of their existence. We were the ones that were given free will. God didn't give everybody free will. We have a choice. And when those messages come and they ask, well, what's your name? Don't worry about what my name is. It's not important. And that's what messengers, a true messenger, like. It's not about me. I come in the name of Salvatore Veroni. That's not important. I'm just a messenger. What's important was what the mob boss has to say. So we glory God because our God is the King of the universe. But as we say these things, we have to reciprocate the love and the attention and the faithfulness that he's showing us back to him. We can't be people who are absent of his praise and his glorification because it's not about us. It's not about us. And I see sometimes, man, the potential on us is crazy. My thing is, I'm not trying to condemn you, but the harlotry and the worship of the Most High God don't mix. The backstabbing and the hate and the love of the Most High God don't mix. We are trying to supersede our responsibility towards God and thinking that because we are socially accepted in circles that we're okay. The people that love you so much and you think you love so much are not going to be the ones to protect you. Only God can. So you have to learn how to please him first. Worship him first because, listen, I can get along with a lot of people. I can be a social butterfly if I need to. But that ain't important. That's superficial. What's important is that God looks at me and finds favor with my life. And that's what's important. It's nice to have friends, but it's better to be valued by the true and the living God. Because what you know is that friends come and go. They do. I mean, they actually do. By certain things, they die, they move. This shit happens. But God, he stays, man. That's why they call him the rock, because the rock is consistent. It's always there. Barring a natural catastrophe, you will always see that mountain. Tamshi.
For I lift up my hand to heaven and say, as I live forever, if I whet my glittering sword and my hand take hold on judgment, I will render vengeance to mine adversaries and will recompense them that hate me. I will make mine arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh, with the blood of the slain and the captives from the long-haired heads of the enemy. Sing aloud, all ye nations of his people. For he doth avenge the blood of his servants, and doth render vengeance to his adversaries, and doth make expiation for the land of his people. And Moshe came and spoke all the words of this song in the ears of the people, he and Hoshea the son of Nun. And when Moshe made an end of speaking all these words to the all Yisrael, he said unto them, set your heart unto all the words wherewith I testify against you this day.
This is a hard task because it wasn't a nice song. I know we read Ha-Azinu like, oh, Ha-Azinu is not a nice song. And this is a song. It's not a nice song. Mm-hmm. Imagine listening to a song that talks about, you got songs like that though, but talks about you ain't nothing. Mm-hmm. Y'all are messing up.
Yeah.
If y'all don't straighten up, this is going to be your latter end. And that God would have killed y'all if it wasn't for his mercy. It's not a nice song, but he's asking the people, set your heart. That means rehearse this song. Remember this song. Mm-hmm. So that you can know what God requires of you in your day-to-day. That you know that God is watching you, that you shouldn't mess up, that you know that you deserve, God deserves more than what you're giving him right now. Some shit.
That ye may charge your children therewith to observe to do all the words of this law. For it is no vain thing for you, because it is your life. And through this thing ye shall prolong your days upon the land whither you go over the Jordan to possess it. And Jehovah spoke unto Moshe that same day, saying, get thee up into this mountain of Abarim unto Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, that is over against Jericho. And behold, the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel for a possession. And die in the mount whither thou goest up, and be gathered unto thy people. As Aharon thy brother died in Mount Hor, and was gathered unto his people, because ye trespassed against me in the midst of the children of Israel, at the waters of Meribah Kadesh, in the wilderness of Zin, because ye sanctified me not in the midst of the children of Israel. But thou shalt see the land afar off, but thou shalt not go thither into the land which I have given the children of Israel. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. So Moshe, and if we want to learn an example of faithfulness, let me use Moshe as an example. Mm-hmm. These last verses, Moshe is discussing how he has to go and die. The reason why he has to die. And there's nothing wrong with Moshe. He's not sick. He's not lame. He doesn't have an injury from war. There's nothing wrong with Moshe. There's nothing wrong with Moshe that he couldn't live another 100 years. But he has been commanded to die, and he's going to do so. Why? Because he is a man that's keeping his faith with God. And his example, even in punishment, even in condemnation, is an example that we all should follow. Because he's letting you understand that he lived and he died strictly by the words of the Most High God. This transcendent book puts me in a sad space because our teacher is dying, is going to die. I can't even say he's dying. He just died. Because dying is a phase. He's going to die. It's partly our fault. But his legacy that he's leaving behind, that we read every year, even these portions are actually named after him. We call these the 5 books of Moses. That he, being our teacher, our leader, our prophet, didn't let us down. He never let us down. Even when we wanted to stone him, he prayed for us and prayed for our behalf. This is the value that we are looking at. This is the post-fast value. This is the word and the attitude and the character that we need to learn how to practice towards one another if we want to be able to call ourselves brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters, I bid you all in the tuck of my forefathers. Hoping and praying that you got something out of what was brought forth. Shabbat shalom, shalom lekam.
Shabbat shalom, shalom. Hallelujah.
Thanking the Most High God for the life of my brother, Chief Naphtali Ben